don't think I'm the only one who loves Halloween and loves getting into the spirit of the holiday. Everyone has different traditions, and I love to watch scary movies and nostalgic horror movies from my childhood, and among them there were the Scary Godmother movies, aka Scary Godmother Halloween Spooktacular and its sequel Scary Godmother The Revenge of Jimmy. They came on every year on Cartoon Network around Halloween, and both movies are on YouTube now, so it's always easy to rewatch it. Something about it only coming on around Halloween really helped preserve the nostalgia of it. You weren't getting spammed with it to the point where it became unbearable, so it was allowed the chance to age gracefully in our heads. Even during the spooky season, I believe they still only aired it like once, at least as far as I can remember. I don't remember seeing it more than once a year, and I was a Cartoon Network fiend. I did a short a bit ago about the first movie, was going to do a short this year about the sequel, but I figured why not make a video about both, though I'll probably still do a short about the sequel. It may have come out already, or it's about to, I don't know. I'm currently writing this in the past, and who knows what the future holds, but enough of that, let's look at these movies. But first, be sure to like and subscribe because that always helps, and thanks for watching. So the first movie was an adaptation of a stage play that itself was an adaptation of a children's book series, and that makes a lot of sense in retrospect. The movie feels very play-like, if you know what I mean, and I'm hoping it's something that becomes apparent throughout the video. The framing of some of the scenes and the way that the monsters are introduced periodically gives me the vibes of a play. I can easily imagine this movie playing out in front of me on stage, except for the spooky animation. Can't recreate that in real life, at least not without an abhorrent amount of LSD or some form of hallucinogenics. Speaking of, the animation was done by the same studio that did Reboot, which tracks. All I'm saying is keep that in the back of the mind as the video goes and see if you can tell what I'm talking about. Alright, so the premise of the movie is pretty simple all things considered, but it was treated with such warmth and earnestness that I can't help but feel comforted. Maybe that's why people love Hallmark Christmas movies, but the posters are usually so laughably bad that I doubt I'll ever check one out. Anyway, in the first movie, our protagonist, Hannah Marie, tags along with her older cousin Jimmy and his friends, Katie, Daryl, and Bert, for trick-or-treating. Jimmy hates this because he doesn't want to have to bring his younger cousin to hang out with his friends. What if she embarrasses him? And look, I kind of get it, bringing a younger relative to your thing might mess up some of your plans, and in this case, Hannah was so scared of monsters that Jimmy had a hard time going full send on the scary aspect of Halloween. Like, she's freaking out anytime the word monster was uttered, and it was kind of harsh in the vibe, though. No one seemed to care other than Jimmy. Plus, Hannah is so nice and sweet that it's hard to be mad at her. Despite that, Jimmy convinces his friends to ditch Hannah so they can get more candy. It sounds like a cope to justify abandoning your little cousin, but whatever. I'm a little surprised the friends initially agreed to this because there is no scenario where leaving your very young cousin by herself at night during Halloween is a good idea. Jimmy spins a spooky legend about a spook house where candy must be left in the basement or ravenous monsters will devour children all over the world. Props to Jimmy on his improv. I think he came up with that on the fly. It's a little simple but effective, and they get Hannah to enter the spook house where they all come together to traumatize Hannah, though ironically she doesn't end up being the one traumatized. That's called foreshadowing. They lock Hannah in the house and leave her there to freak the fuck out, I guess. I know they can hear her crying, but I guess they don't care. Someone does hear her crying, and that's where we meet the illustrious Scary Godmother, who wants to show her a good time so that she can have a fun time rather than the awful night she was about to have. She takes Hannah to the Fright Side, a colorful realm where all of her monster friends are throwing an annual party, and we get to settle into the house where the party will happen. It's a good time as ever to mention it now, but for as much as I gave the animation flack, I really do like the backgrounds throughout the movie. The stylized shading on the objects enhance the 3D models, and it makes it really pop. It's part of why the movie sticks out in my head so much. It also helps that the objects don't move, so there's no animation to worry about. It gives me video game vibes, like I'm playing a Grim Fandango game or something. It makes the art style feel more like a stylistic choice rather than a limitation of the software they were using, which is a big distinction. Back to the Fright Side, Hannah meets the various monsters who are attending the party, and they're very nice to Hannah, though the vampires are ready to drain her blood off rip, but that was a little misunderstanding. Plus, the 3D animation does make the monsters a lot scarier looking, especially Bugaboo, so I get Hannah's initial worry, but she comes to understand that monsters are just like people, and she shouldn't judge a group of people due to perceived beliefs. In this case, her belief that monsters are all scary and evil, though it takes her the whole movie to not be scared of Bugaboo. You want to talk about scary and evil though? Harry the werewolf is such an unrepentant bum. He came to the party early just to eat all the food, and then when he does that, he orders a bunch of pizza for himself. He spends $200 on the pizza while barely consulting everyone and doesn't even have the money to pay for it. It's not his house or party. He's getting me heated. He has no decorum, says and does all the wrong things to people, and I'm not even sure anyone at the party likes him. I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up uninvited. Being a kid is not liking Jimmy. Getting older is realizing that Harry was the real villain. Yeah, Jimmy was messing with Hannah heavy, but Harry was actively ruining the party, which was the meat of the movie. Meanwhile, Jimmy and friends are having a good laugh at Hannah's expense until they realize, oh shit, Hannah isn't coming out of the spook house. It high-key ruins their night because they spent a lot of their night waiting for Hannah to come out instead of trick-or-treating, and Jimmy refuses to let anyone go inside the house to get her for whatever reason. Probably because he's worried that the monsters are real like his his friends, which is probably why he ends up the way he does in the next movie. It's all but confirmed when Bugaboo reveals he scares Jimmy as part of his job, so when the monsters find out the lie Jimmy told Hannah, they decide to pay him back by scaring him. The monsters turn the spook house into a real haunted house and proceed to scare the ever-loving shit out of the kids, but as a goof, you know? Except Harry. I truly believe he would have eaten Daryl, who was dressed as Candy, because, again, Harry is the worst. The scare tactics culminate in propping Hannah up as the hero who defeats the monsters and helps others escape. The kids love Hannah now, and before they leave, the scary godmother gives Hannah a skeleton key so that she can come back whenever, ending the first movie. I had a great time watching this, and the simplicity of it is a big reason why it's so watchable to me today. Because the movie is a nice simple plot that thrives on the characters and their spooky, friendly nature, it stands the test of time a lot better. The movie works because of its characters and is accented by the story. The characters play off each other well and their interactions are funny. I particularly liked whenever Jimmy and his friends banter with each other. The dialogue felt natural and they came off as good friends even if they bicker with each other more often than not. Honestly, most of the dialogue was funny and endearing, and I'm glad the movie decided to let the dialogue shine and stand on its own, a point of emphasis that the director wanted to make after watching the stage play. The designs of the monsters worked a lot better than I remember too. It takes full advantage of the wacky animation to sell how scary the monsters can be, and it all ties together to create an enjoyable watch where I want to see more of the characters, and luckily we have the sequel to watch as well, so let's take a look at it. A year later, Halloween rolls around again because that's how time works. And this time around, we have a framing device of Harry telling us a scary story so that he can get out of doing work for Scary Godmother. Because, say it with me, he's a bum. We find out that Jimmy never recovered from getting scared in the first movie. He has constant nightmares, sets up traps for monsters, and threw out all of his clothes in an effort to make sure no monsters can hide in his closet. He's traumatized bad. He can't eat spaghetti without having a panic attack. And if you're wondering why his friends aren't traumatized, it's because they believe that the monsters were older kids that were messing with them, which, I guess. That doesn't really explain the skeleton falling apart in front of them, but maybe they blocked it out. Jimmy tries to get them to not celebrate Halloween with him, and obviously they ditch him instead because they can't say no to candy. Jimmy then decides that in order to avoid the monsters, he'll do whatever he can to stop the Halloween fun. He goes all out for it too. He smashes every pumpkin he can find, labels candy as poison, and marks costumes flammable, effectively erasing jack-o'-lanterns, treats, and ghostly decor. It works too because him killing the Halloween spirit starts to make the fright side unstable, threatening its existence. It gets to a point where Bugaboo's house and the surrounding area disappear. Luckily, each time Jimmy pulls something, Hannah is quick to make a bad situation better by salvaging the situations and coming up with things that bring the Halloween spirit back, like making their own sweets and getting creative with their costumes. She even teaches us how to make spooky s'mores. How kind of Hannah. The fright side holds together long enough for Hannah to fix things, and to celebrate, Hannah invites everyone to the spook house for a party, which Jimmy TPs, and that really messes up fright side. I'm surprised it was a problem though, because it looks cool. All it takes is Hannah pointing out that the toilet paper looks like ghosts for Halloween to be back on, thus saving fright side. Maybe fright side shouldn't have his existence hinge on what a couple of kids think about Halloween, but it's fine. It's movie logic. I'm not going to nitpick it. By the way, when the monsters think that Scary Godmother gets crushed by the house that reappears, everyone mourns her except for Harry, who celebrates because it means he doesn't have to work. All my homies hate Harry. To celebrate Halloween being saved for real this time, Hannah invites the other kids to Godmother's party where they find out that the monsters were really real. Just kidding, they still think the monsters are older kids, and maybe that's for the best. Jimmy sneaks into the party to try and ruin Halloween one last time, and he accidentally manages to scare Bugaboo and kick out Harry, winning the best costume prize in the process. They say it's because he was able to scare Bugaboo, but I know it's because he got Harry out of there. Anyway, this moment snaps Jimmy out of his year-long psychotic break as he learns the same thing Hannah learned in the first movie. Monsters aren't that scary, or at least that they won't eat him. And with Jimmy's love of Halloween reignited, they all have a great Halloween party, putting it into the second movie. The sequel was just as good as the first movie for a lot of the same reasons I mentioned earlier, so I won't waste your time by repeating the same things I was saying before, but I will say that I did like the first movie a little more because the second movie had a lot more going story-wise, which meant there wasn't as much as an emphasis on the dialogue. It was still good, don't get me wrong, and I liked a lot of the jokes in this one, but I felt like half of the characters' lines in this movie were them saying Halloween is ruined in different ways, especially for the kids not named Jimmy or Hannah, which sucks because I really liked their dynamic in the first movie and wanted to see more of that. Funny enough, not having Jimmy in their group for the movie is why I think they weren't given as much to work with. He was an asshole, sure, but he was their asshole. Overall, these movies are a nice, fun time that really gets me in the mood for Halloween and still hold up today. There's a reason so many people watch these movies every year as a tradition. And with that, I think that brings us to the end of the video. If you made it this far, I appreciate it, and I hope you stick around for whatever else we decide to make. And before you put Harry on the street like he deserves, have a good day.